Okay, so have you ever been scrolling through Instagram or TikTok or whatever and you see someone of the opposite gender and you get that twinge of ugh, I wish I had that.
Yeah, I totally know what you mean.
Yeah, like those moments where they just seem to be rocking life and effortlessly navigating a world that feels so much tougher for you.
Right, right.
Well, my friends, that is the sneaky but oh so common feeling of gender envy.
It really is more universal than people think.
For sure. And what makes it even more interesting is that it's not just about wanting those specific traits, you know? It often hints at those deeper societal structures and expectations, making us question if their advantages came at our expense.
Definitely. It's like looking at the whole picture and seeing the trade-offs and how things really play out.
And that's where this deep dive gets super fascinating. We're going to be exploring this study from Frontiers in Psychology that breaks down this universal feeling into a whopping 32 categories.
Wow, 32. That's a lot to unpack.
Right. We're talking everything from societal pressures to physical attributes to even the nitty-gritty of psychological differences between men and women.
They really went deep.
Oh yeah, this study isn't messing around. It's giving us a full-blown X-ray of those grass is always greener moments we've all had.
Data on the screen, numbers come alive. Male, female flows where the patterns thrive. Visual charts, public colors unify. Gender decoded, bringing truth to light. Small drum fill. We break it down, real talk. Trends unveiling, facts from every block. Here's your insight, watch the data glide. Gender decoded, let the beats collide.
Ever feel just a twinge of envy towards the opposite sex? Like wishing you could just rock those amazing heels or just, effortlessly parallel park. Well, get ready to dive into the fascinating world of gender envy today. Because trust me, it goes way deeper than just, clothes or parking skills.
Absolutely. And today we're going to be unpacking some really interesting findings from a recent study that was published in Frontiers in Psychology. Researchers surveyed over 1,700 people in the Czech Republic, and what they uncovered was truly insightful. They actually identified a whopping 32 categories of envy between men and women. And these categories covered everything from societal roles to physical attributes to even those subtle psychological differences we often overlook.
32 categories. Okay,
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack. So where do we even begin with all this envy?
Well, let's start with something that's probably not so surprising. Societal envy. Specifically, the envy that stems from the power dynamics between men and women. The study found that a significant number of women, around 72%, reported feeling envious of men's higher earning potential. And it's not just about the money itself. Many women in the study expressed frustration at being passed over for promotions or opportunities, despite having equal or even better qualifications than their male counterparts.
Yeah, I think that definitely resonates. Most women have probably experienced that feeling of, hitting that invisible ceiling. At some point in their careers, it's like there's this unspoken expectation that men are just, naturally better suited for leadership roles or positions of authority.
Exactly. And this perception, even if it's subconscious, contributes to the gender pay gap and the ongoing challenges women faced in male-dominated fields. It's not just about individual ambition, it's about the systemic structures that often favor men in the workplace.
Okay, so we've got women envying men's societal advantages. But did the study find that men experienced any envy towards women in this area?
They did. And what's interesting is that men's envy wasn't focused on the traditional domestic roles often associated with women. It wasn't about wanting to be stay-at-home dads or anything like that. Instead, men envied women's perceived ability to leverage social capital to their advantage.
Social capital. What does that mean in this context?
Essentially, it refers to the influence and advantages that come from social connections and networking abilities. Historically, women have often relied on their social skills and networks to navigate societal structures, where they didn't have the same access to power power as men.
So in a way, it's like men were acknowledging a different kind of power that women possess.
Precisely. And this recognition highlights how these traditional gender dynamics, even the unspoken ones, continue to influence our perceptions and even our desires. We tend to envy those qualities or advantages that we perceive as valuable but lacking in ourselves. And often those perceptions are shaped by societal norms and expectations.
So it's fascinating how these societal expectations can shape like our desires in ways that we might not even realize. But let's kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about another type of envy that kind of emerged from the study, physical envy, and get ready for this one because some of these findings were pretty unexpected.
Indeed, when we think about physical envy, we often just jump to those stereotypical images of sculpted bodies or, flawless features. But this study revealed something much more nuanced, particularly when it came to women's experiences. A significant number of women reported envying men for something they don't have, the burdens of female biology.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this. What specific burdens were they referring to?
Well, the study highlighted a strong sense of envy among women related to menstruation, childbirth, and menopause. Many women expressed a desire to be free from the physical and emotional challenges associated with these biological processes.
That's really interesting. It's almost like a reverse form of envy, wanting to lack something rather than possess it.
Right. You've hit on a key concept here, which researchers call ablative envy. It's the desire to be without a particular trait or experience. And it often arises when that trait is perceived as a burden or disadvantage.
So it's not about wanting something men have, but rather wanting to not have something women do have. I think that's something a lot of women can relate to, especially when it comes to the often painful or inconvenient realities of female biology.
Absolutely. And while some might view this as simply wanting to take the easy route, it's important to recognize the valid reasons behind this envy. These biological processes can have a significant impact on women's lives, both physically and emotionally, and it's understandable that some would yearn for a different experience.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. But what about the men in the study? What were they envying when it came to physical attributes? Were they fixated on six-pack abs or something?
Not at all. The study actually revealed a rather profound finding in this area. Men's physical envy wasn't focused on outward appearances or traditional markers of masculinity. Instead, a significant number of men expressed envy towards women's ability to experience fatherhood and bring new life into the world.
Wow, that's really unexpected, but also kind of beautiful. It seems to speak to a deeper longing beyond just physical attributes.
Precisely. It suggests a recognition of the unique and powerful experience of bringing a child into the world, something that's biologically exclusive to women. And I think it also hints at a growing desire among men to be more actively involved in the nurturing and caregiving aspects of parenthood, roles that have traditionally been more associated with women.
Yeah, so we're seeing these really interesting patterns emerge, where men are envying qualities often seen as feminine or maternal, while women are expressing a desire to be free from certain burdens associated with female biology. It's almost like we're getting a glimpse into those unspoken yearnings we have for experiences or qualities that seem out of reach because of our gender.
You've summed it up perfectly, and this brings us to the final and perhaps most intriguing category of envy uncovered by the study: psychological envy. This is where we start to delve into the complexities of how we perceive and value different emotional and cognitive traits in men and women.
Psychological envy, huh? So it sounds like we're really getting into the heart of the matter here.
Yeah.
What were some of the key insights that emerged in this category?
Well, this is where some of the most, significant stereotype busting occurred. The study found that women often envied what's traditionally seen as a masculine trait, rationality, particularly in decision-making. Many women expressed a desire to be less influenced by emotions and to approach choices with greater logic and detachment.
It's fascinating because, we're often told that women are the more emotional sex. So to hear that they're actually envying this emotional detachment in men is really thought-provoking. Why do you think this envy emerges?
I think it points to the deeply ingrained societal messages we receive about, what it means to be a man or a woman. From a young age, boys are often encouraged to suppress their emotions to be strong and stoic, while girls are often praised for being nurturing and empathetic. And over time, these messages can lead to internalized beliefs about how we should be feeling and behaving.
So it's almost like women are envying a trait that they've been conditioned to believe is wrong for them to express. But isn't emotional detachment often seen as a negative trait in men? I mean, we often hear complaints about men being emotionally unavailable or insensitive.
That's a great point. And it leads us perfectly to what men envied about women in this category. The study found that men express a strong sense of envy toward women's emotional expressiveness and their capacity for empathy. It seems men are yearning for the very qualities they're often discouraged from embracing.
So we have this fascinating paradox where women are envying a traditionally masculine trait that's often viewed as like a negative, while men are envying a traditionally feminine trait that's often undervalued. It really makes you question the validity of these rigid gender stereotypes, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It highlights the limitations and even the harm that can come from these narrow definitions of what it means to be a man or a woman. When we box people into these predetermined roles, we stifle their full emotional and cognitive potential.
Yeah, it seems like this envy is really pointing to a deeper desire for balance, for the freedom to embrace the full spectrum of human qualities, regardless of gender.
Precisely. And I think that's the key takeaway from this entire exploration of gender envy. It's not just about wanting what the other person has. It's about recognizing those aspects of ourselves that we've been taught to suppress or deny. And it's about challenging the societal norms that limit our ability to express our full selves, regardless of whether we identify as male or female.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. It really makes you think differently about how we perceive and relate to each other across gender lines.
I agree. And I think the most powerful thing we can do with this knowledge is to use it to create a more equitable and inclusive world, where everyone feels empowered to embrace their unique strengths and vulnerabilities. Instead of envying each other, let's celebrate and support each other's full humanity.
Beautifully said. So to all our listeners out there, what resonated with you most from this deep dive into gender envy? And how can we use this knowledge to foster greater understanding and connection in our own lives? We'll leave you with those questions to ponder. Thanks for joining us.